obligations of the countries concerned. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Afghanistan. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. President, Madam Deputy High Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all pay my deepest condolences to the people and the government of Belgium on occasion of yesterday's terrorist attacks which killed around 34 people and left hundreds wounded. I would like to welcome the detailed and comprehensive report of the High Commissioner on the situation of human rights in Afghanistan and on the achievement of technical assistance in the field of human rights in 2015. The government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan is committed in its goal toward democracy, strengthening democratic institutions, and promotion and protection of human rights. Afghanistan has achieved enormous gains and successes in the last 15 years. My country has crossed the verge of security and political transitions, and the government is paying a particular attention to the human rights of its people, in particular those of women, children, and other vulnerable groups. In Afghanistan, the core challenges toward human rights, justice, development, accountability, and prosperity is the insecurity and insurgency. It is the anti-governmental groups which deteriorate human rights, bury schools, destroy roads and public institutions, create an environment of fear and unsafety. The killings of journalists and media employees, which are also reflected in the report, is an indication of extreme, inhuman, cruel action. The majority of the responsibilities of mentioned barbaric actions go to the Taliban as the key factors of instability in Afghanistan. As the report of the High Commissioner points out, during Taliban's occupation of Kunduz last year, the Taliban clearly targeted human rights defenders and governmental employees through systematic searches of their homes and destruction and looting of properties and promises of the government, non-governmental organizations, and the United Nations. Taliban would not impose such suffering to the people of Afghanistan without an external sanctuary, sustainable funding, weapons supplies, and intelligence support. The government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan has firm commitment to protecting the lives of civilians and adherence to the international human rights standards. The Afghan National Security Forces, by their utmost efforts, are trying to avoid any harm to the civilians. As it is pointed out in the report of the High Commissioner, it's the Taliban and other anti-governmental groups who poses the majority of the casualties to the civilians. Mr. President, today Afghanistan is a functioning democracy inspired by its 2004 constitution, with 3 independent branches of power, a thriving civil society and free media. There are hundreds of registered civil society organizations. Afghanistan Independent Human Rights Commission, whose chairperson will be speaking, is among the key institutions within the Afghanistan government in the process of promotion and protection of human rights. The equality of men and women are granted in the constitution of the country. Girls and women in Afghanistan have remarkable achievements in terms of political participation and decision-making, socio-economic participation, as well as in access to healthcare, education, and other services. The government adopted several action plans, policies, and roadmaps aiming to empower women. The most recent efforts in that regard can be the adoption of the anti-harassment regulation by the Cabinet of Afghanistan. The President of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan has ordered the review of cases of women detained on accusation of so-called moral crimes, and out of 402 women detained, 255 have already been released. The Ministry of Interior is halfway toward its goal of recruiting 5,000 female police officers to increase access to justice and security for female citizens, and thus hundreds of female police have been trained. Despite the achievements, we acknowledge that there is a significant need for more development. Afghan women continue to suffer from multiple challenges, including domestic abuse, forced marriages, and lack of access to justice. There is a firm political commitment to counter those challenges But we need more time and support for an effective, yet rapidly, social transformation. Mr. President, in relation to children's rights, the government of Afghanistan is committed to align itself to the provision of international human rights instruments and the resolution of the UN aimed at upholding and realizing children's rights. As per the last